On this episode, we travel to Kensington Market in Toronto. Once a month, the streets are closed to cars for Pedestrian Sundays. We take a look at the Community Vehicular Reclamation Project. Finally, we learn about Streets Are For People. Stay tuned. We're in the Kensington Market neighborhood of Toronto, talking with Yvonne Bambrick. What are Pedestrian Sundays?
They're a chance for us to celebrate as a community. We kick the cars out. It's really that simple. It's a chance to reclaim some of our public space for under the tagline of community culture ecology. So we're really celebrating the neighborhood that exists here. It's a mixed-use, multicultural neighborhood, and it gives everyone a chance to come together in the street and to breathe a little cleaner. It's a clean air pocket from one Sunday afternoon of a month, and it's a chance to really raise a bit of consciousness. Enjoy each other's company, talk about the issues at hand. We often have community debates or political debates in the street. It's the recreation of the commons in our city.
How did it get started?
It got started with a little street party, something called a parking meter party. Shamez and Kelsey from Streets Are For People just paid the meter, parked their bikes, put the little ticket in their spokes, and took over the space. If you pay for it, it's yours to do what you like if you've got your vehicle there. Anyway, it bloomed into 300 people and took over the street, and people thought, wow, this is a great idea. We should do this again somehow. And it went from there. It went from an idea to consulting with the community to see if they'd be willing to do something like that on a regular basis. It went to City Council, and they thought it was a good idea as a pilot project. They got behind it, gave us some money and human and financial resources the first year to get it going, and it turned into a once a month thing. Actually, the first year we did 7 Sundays in a row, so that was a little intense. Every weekend for July and August, we threw what was essentially a festival. It was programmed throughout. The whole community came to life. But it's now, this is 4 years later, we're doing it on the last Sunday of the month. We've extended it to a broader season, so from spring till fall. So May to October, last Sunday of the month, the community comes together to celebrate in the street.
How much work is involved in putting on something like this? Is it more than just putting a couple of barricades up at the end of the street?
Yes. It's a full-time job for the love. It's all volunteer run. All of us have been doing this for the love of the community and for the love of the planet and a little bit of hatred of cars. We really want to see our city take seriously much more widespread and accessible public transit and real public infrastructure for cyclists and for pedestrians that's much more realistic and optimal, and that includes the air we breathe. So we're looking at getting the cars out. So we're really fairly passionate about that and willing to put in the hours of dealing with the city and just all the bureaucracy, right? There's always, and that's okay. I understand that there's protocol and you have to go through it, and we've actually had a very good working relationship with our city councillors, the ones that support us, and with the various groups that we have to work with, so the transportation department, special events, all of that stuff. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that people don't understand. They come and they don't realize the work that goes into it, but it's for the love, and it's so worth it when you see thousands of people with a whole new appreciation for a community, with a whole new appreciation for what space can be like without cars, and really sharing that space together, and it's magic, and it's so worth all the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. It's wonderful.
And has it been around long enough that it's a permanent fixture of the neighborhood now?
It's become a tradition, most definitely. In the beginning, there was majority support, which is how we were able to proceed. When there's change proposed, there's always a few folks that are afraid of it. That's just human nature. Through the last 4 years, that's changed. People have seen, when you don't know what it is that someone's saying, oh, we want to kick the cars out and celebrate in the streets. Oh, what does that look like? We've never seen that before. That sounds scary. What do you mean you want to kick out the cars and take away my business? But all of those people, the majority, not all, there's always a few stick in the muds, right? It's definitely a tradition. People are waiting for it from year to year, and it's actually started to spread to other neighborhoods, which is our goal, and we've started to achieve that goal this year. We spread to 2 other neighborhoods nearby, within biking distance. Baldwin Village and Mirvish Village both decided to give it a try this summer, and it's a huge step in the right direction. And we're looking to work with the other business improvement associations, residents associations, different neighborhoods. We're really looking to spread this to all parts of the city, not just the downtown core, because any community with any self-defined community that has a market street or some sort of central main street can do this. If they decide that they want to get together and give it a try, what we're trying to have happen at the city level is that should a community decide to do that they can go ahead and do it at no cost. Currently, it's somewhat prohibitive. There are costs associated with barricades and pylons and paid police officers, the duty cops. And of course there's insurance, because when you kick the cars out, it's much less safe than usual. You have to insure the streets. It makes no sense at all. And that's what we're trying to figure out and streamline with the city so that other neighborhoods are much more able to proceed with the initiative in their own communities.
We're talking with Shamez Amlani. What's the business on the street here that you're on?
I run a little French bistro here called La Palette.
Now, when Pedestrian Sundays are held, how does that affect your business?
Well, what happens when Pedestrian Sundays are held is that we free up all this public space. Rather than just getting goods from A to B, all of a sudden the streets become a lively environment where people interact, where strangers meet, where strange things can happen. Because after all, the streets are the stage on which we play out our lives. So what happens at La Palette, like you would see in France, the cafe spills out onto the street. We get permission to go right up until the curb. So in front of my shop, the bar sort of extends, and you have this convivial people watching street culture. The yoga that's usually tucked away in the yoga studio comes out onto the street. There's dance lessons in the street. Whatever people would normally do inside, there's all this extended room. It becomes an extension of your living room, and it gets life breathed into it. People talk to each other, and what's interesting as well is neighbors end up talking to each other. People who have nothing in common and have no reason to be working on something together get together to make their street a lively place. And when it happens again and again and again, these kind of bonds get stronger. I think one of our heroes, Jane Jacobs, would be quite proud of this experiment, because really we're trying to bring back the street life that you see in so many other places, the kind of thing that must have gone on before car hegemony reigned supreme.
And this has been going on for 4 years now. How has it evolved over the 4 years? From your perspective, what have you seen, change and improve, or just be different?
Well, already the fact that when it becomes a tradition like that, it starts to liberate people's mindset on what the street is for. And the whole thing is, it's not a permanent car-free zone; it's just temporary. But not only does it doesn't permanently change the street, it changes the way you see the street, the way you perceive it. When you've seen the couple in passionate embrace, locked in a tango dance together, or when you've seen your child dancing in the street to a samba band, when that truck is making a delivery there the next day, you can't look at that space the same way, and you feel that it is part of your realm and that you have the right to live in it and breathe life into it and walk around on it. And it's sort of a psychological reclamation of the commons.
Do you think it's affected the way that you relate with the other businesses and your other neighbors on the street?
Well, it certainly has. Since I'm one of the creators or co-founders of the whole concept, we had done a lot of consultation and talked to people. So it's certainly, I got to know a lot of people in the neighborhood, made a couple of enemies and a lot of friends. And it got people talking to each other. So the more you do it over time, the more it does grow and helps to build community, just as an accidental thing in addition to showing you what public space can be and cleaning up the air.
And another neighborhood in Toronto or elsewhere in North America that drops by on Pedestrian Sunday, sees what you're doing, thinks they might be going to try it where they are. What
Definitely.
Advice can you give them?
Well, here's an interesting thing too. We sort of thought that we had come up with this great idea, and as we cast our eyes around the world, you see a phenomenon like this everywhere. And it's very different than the medieval villages and that grew into cities where we have an old historic center in the big capitals of Europe or in Asia, or marketplaces. In the last 10 years, there is a movement going on, and it has a consciousness-raising agenda. And that's why we talk about community, culture, and ecology when we talk about Pedestrian Sundays, that ecology part. We want people to think about the world they live in and try and show that that other world is possible, create that healthy environment you want to live in. And what's interesting, I look at a country like Italy. They had 100 townships participate in this experiment called Ecological Sundays, where one Sunday a month the entire downtown core was shut to car traffic. And what happened was, even though there was a lot of protests before it happened, after it happened, there was extensive surveying that went down, and people loved it. So the government, the federal government, passed it on to the townships themselves, and every town decided how often they would do this. So cities like Rome and Milan, for example, said, okay, we're going to do this one Sunday a month. A city like Florence said, we love this so much, we're going to do it every Sunday. A little city like Parma did it every Sunday and loved it so much that they decided to convert their downtown core permanently into a car-free zone. Now, this is really something, considering Italians have the highest per capita car ownership in the world. They love their cars. And yet, they too said, this is fun, this is nice. And when we're doing this once a month in our neighborhood, a lot of the merchants that don't necessarily benefit from it economically say it's okay because you're promoting the neighborhood, and it's nice to see our kids dancing in the streets together, isn't it? So it's really a lot more complex than we think. And once again, you look at places like Brussels, you look at Paris, which is doing a really fun way of getting rid of cars. Now, they already have great public spaces, but they still think they're overrun by cars, and they are to a certain degree. You've got this thing called the Paris Plage, where by the banks of the Seine, they lay down sand, and it's a beach, and it's like a beach party. So there's a fun element to it. They let certain streets only be used on certain days, certain Sundays, for cycling and rollerblading, and that's something that happens in the States, it happens in Ottawa, it happens on a huge scale in Bogota and Colombia, where in South America lots of cities do this. They call it ciclovia. These are simple, almost free, or very easy ways that aren't costly at all, of changing people's mindset and of bringing that public realm back. And so that Paris model uses health as a way of doing things. It uses fun and frivolity and leisure as a similar thing. And of course, they also tripled the price of parking. They didn't want to take on the London-style congestion tax. But this is the multi-pronged approach that they're using. And there's lots of innovative solutions that are cheap or free that cities can do to take that space back from the car.
We're in Toronto talking with Kelsey Carrier. What is Streets Are for People, and what's your connection to the organization?
Oh, well, Streets Are for People. Our mission is to, little by little, through many various tactics, get people to start realizing the ridiculosity, the absurdity of the presence of the automobile in our cities. And you got in many major cities, up to 30 and 40% of a downtown core is dedicated to the automobile. Impermeable asphalt, which screws up the hydrological systems and drives by, polluting our air, or just simply sitting there, taking up space. And we have been around for 5 years. 5 years ago, Shamaz, who you just spoke to, and myself met, and there was a bit of ranting going on about how ridiculous our city is, that the system's all messed when there's no room for cyclists, that people are getting hit, that there's dozens and dozens of smog days a year when you're warned not to go outside, especially seniors and children, because the air is too dangerous to breathe. And we're thinking, well, somebody ought to do something about this. And as soon as the word came out of our mouth, we realized that there's nobody going to do anything about it unless we ourselves took it on. And that's part of the mandate, is for encouraging activism in all realms of society. We're all activists, whether we're architects or city planners or restaurateurs or waitresses. That there's room for all of us to claim a piece of our city and demand what would make it a better place. So we started off with a parking meter party 5 years ago in 2002. And after a little bit of research into the legalities of the whole situation, we found that to rent a parking spot, we know it in Toronto anyways, it only costs $1.50 an hour. It's prime real estate for $1.50 an hour. But the only logical or recognized use for it is to park a car there. But in the bylaws, the way it's worded, it's not just for a car. It could be a van or a bus or a truck or whatever. So the word is vehicle. But the same way a bicycle could be given a ticket for biking the wrong way down a one-way street, bicycles are also considered vehicles. And we put 2 and 2 of the bylaws together and made a parking meter party, which is parking your vehicle, your bicycle, your tricycle, whatever non-motorized vehicle you please, and paying the meter, which is rightfully yours to pay, and then you're literally renting a 6 by 12 foot piece of a city back for $1.50. And then you open up this whole forum of a chance to show people another world that's possible. We all take for granted that, well, that's a parking spot and that's for a car to park, even though they could be sitting there idling and blaring the cock rock on the radio and eating a greasy hamburger. You could just as likely be parking your bicycle there, having a beautiful gourmet picnic, and having a string quartet playing behind you. So it's disarming tactics like that that show people that there is another world possible, and the automobile does not have to infringe on every square inch of our city property. So having said that, this is one of our favorite pieces. Officially called the Community Vehicular Reclamation Project. A couple summers ago, we were given a junked car, and we're thinking, what can we do with it? What can we do if it? Cars are wretched. What else could you do with a space besides parking a car in it? And of course, it could be the complete opposite of a concrete and covered in concrete polluted parking space. It could be a park, it could be a garden, it could be any number of things. So we decided to turn a car itself into a parking spot. We thought, well, you're into a park. So we thought, if you could park a car here, well, we could park a car here. We could pay our $1.50 an hour, but it doesn't mean the car needs to be idling and polluting. And hence came the garden car. So we ground the roof off, took off the trunk, the hood as well, and it's all been planted with herbs and flowers. There's marigolds and tomatoes growing next to each other so that the marigolds will attract the bugs that otherwise would have eaten the tomatoes. And a friend of ours spent a full 3 months sitting out on here on the street, painting the sides of it, until it's turned into basically a community mascot. It's a thing that never ceases to make people smile, and probably photographed more than the CN Tower. And we started off paying the meter, saying, well, we're just parking our car there. So we paid our $1.50 an hour for several days, and then realized, if this is actually going to stay here for a year, a couple of years, or forever, it's going to cost us a bloody fortune. We figured we won't pay it every hour. And eventually, some authorities came buzzing around, saying, oh, that can't stay. That certainly can't be. They're not in the public realm. I mean, it's a liability. Because, it could run somebody over or something. They could accidentally smell the flowers. I don't know. So we actually took this garden car with a whole load of smiles behind it to City Hall and argued that it ought to stay here, that people loved it too much. And in fact, it's a piece of public art. And not just any old public art, but it starts to invoke conversations. You have children and parents walking by who know nothing about this. They're seeing it for the first time, and the kid says, Mom, what's with that car? And the mom would turn around and explain, oh, well, you see, it's telling you that cars are stinky and horrible, and our public space could be used for something else. That streets are for people, not just cars. And that always brings a little tear to our eye when it's so self-apparent that a complete stranger gets the message. It transcends boundaries and cultures, that people see what it's saying just at first glance, enough to explain it to their kid or to a doubtful passerby. And I hope it will stay here forever. makes enough people smile that it deserves to.
Okay.
There you go.
We're talking with Michael Lewis Johnson with Streets Are for People. What are some of the other projects Streets Are for People has been working on?
Well, what we're trying to do is really change the mindset of people, right? It's about a cultural revolution. It's car culture that's, really, really destroying our ability to live on this planet. And a lot of people take for granted the way that our cities are designed and all the space that goes to cars. So whenever we have the opportunity to take a space back and envision it in a new way, we do. So for example, right up the street here a couple of years ago, they were redoing the streetcar tracks. So the street was closed for construction, right?
Yeah.
Construction crews finished at about 6 o'clock in the evening. So then we pushed a piano out into the middle of the street, into the tracks. And I had a little, swing trio at the time. And we did a show in the middle of the street. So as the sun's setting and I'm playing trumpet and singing, Louis Armstrong and Billie Holiday songs, as people are walking home, and all of a sudden they're, oh, wow, they can fall in love in the middle of the street. That's normally just, the violence of the automobiles driving by. So construction zone reclamations are also really good for punk rock. I have a punk rock band that we've done some shows from construction zones. That's one of the things as well. Use for cars after the garden car. We've had other people donate cars to us, and we've it's a dead car. We push it around, but we paint it all white like a piece of paper and turn the actual car into a petition. Last year we did a petition for we want more parks and less parking, right? And we put that on the windshield of the car, put the, we the undersigned do hereby demand more parks, less parking. We got thousands of signatures on the car, and then we pushed it to City Hall and delivered to City Hall. And it gets the idea across, it gets in the media, and every time we get on TV or in the newspaper, it makes people go, oh, yeah, cars are really bad. Oh, yeah. And right now everybody's just talking about, air quality, right? So they're thinking, oh yeah, but so we'll sink billions of dollars into hydrogen fuel cells and electric cars and stuff like that. I was like, well, the number one killer of Canadian school children is the automobile. If your kid gets run over by an electric car, you can't plug him in or recharge him. You know what I mean? So even if the air gets better, we're still paving over the richest farmland in our country to make highways. We're still sinking tons of money into roads and construction, cops, ambulances. We're still contributing to obesity and diabetes. So all these really hard facts about the car culture that are really, really destroying our ability to live, we try to get those through people without, angry protests and signs. But when we do a parking meter party, for example, Kelsey was talking about that, people drive by and they're too busy grinning from ear to ear going, look at this, people playing badminton in a parking spot, to get upset that they can't park there. When on World Car Free Day, our city was going to do something, and then with only a few weeks to go, they canceled all the plans because it was going to be too expensive. And so, this is something that's celebrated in 1,500 cities around the world. September 22nd is World Car Free Day. So we got a whole bunch of people together and did parking meter parties during the day, and then had a parade down Queen Street. We took over the street for 2 hours with no permission. And when you got 5-year-old kids dancing in the street playing kazoos, and a 20-piece samba band and 7 horn players, and we had 3 bass players and a cello and a guitar on a trailer that people were pulling, right? Yeah. When you got that, people can't let you get away with it. Right? So that's what we do. We try to make it a joyous celebration of life, bring culture out from its hiding place into the street. Because that's one thing that we're lacking. It used to be when streets weren't dominated by cars. People were out in the street talking, and they were partying, they were dancing, kids were playing, running. That's what makes for a nice neighborhood, a nice place to live. Now everything is just a shortcut, and it's just about getting from A to B. There's no journey. What about all of life is who you meet on the way, but if you're just in a box of your own private space, you don't really meet anybody. So that's a lot of what our actions are about, and in that reclaiming the idea of common space, shared space, right? In our capitalistic society, everything is about private ownership, and the car is kind of the ultimate of that, right? This is my private space. It's not even like my house. This is my private space that I drive anywhere, and I'll get violent if you challenge me in my private space, and that's when people get really violent in cars. So when we take that space that is normally just private and reclaim it as something shared, in a construction, we do a construction zone picnic and pull out a giant Scrabble game. We made Scrabble out of actual floor tiles, right? And get a big game going on, and people walking by going, oh, hey man, you can make this word here. And all of a sudden you get everybody in a shared space, sharing an experience together, instead of in constant competition against each other. When you think, how could we let our environment slip to the state that it's in? How could we be so bad as stewards of our world? Well, because we're only thinking about ourselves. We have disassociated or disconnected ourselves from the people around us and from our environment. When we share that space again, we regain that sense of responsibility, not only to ourselves and our children and our family, but to our neighbors, to people that we live in the same city with, to people that live across the world from us, right? So that's a lot of the motivation for what we're doing. And if you do it in more fun ways, then it's more fun for people to come out.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.